Hello. Welcome to Seemingly Nobodies. I'm your host, Rebekah Ketchum, aka Becky, aka Techie Becky, who has no idea how to use technology and just recorded an entire episode that was not audible. Ha! So hopefully this one's working. We'll see. I'm doing an episode today on the body. I love the word body. Not just the body, but the mind-body connection. What it is to be human. So, right, this is applicable to us all. Now, I have a few categories I'm going to be touching on here that could really subset into their own whole topics, right? Okay, I'm just giving you a little overlay of my experience in my journey with nutrition and figuring out how to take care of myself. And by no means do I think that I'm an expert. I'm an enthusiast, not an expert. And I don't have it all figured out. Okay, I'm not perfect. I have issues. I do. I still have issues despite trying over and over again, but that's the journey. The journey is figuring out the problems, figuring out the symptoms, alleviating them, alleviating the causes, and hopefully carrying on with a healthy mind and a healthy body, soul, spirit, all of the above. Okay. So, and I have overcome some BS, some hard times, some tough things. Okay. So I can speak from a little bit of experience. What got me really enthused recently about health, what got me real into it was actually hair. So I'm a hairdresser. If you didn't listen to the first episode, I'm a hairdresser. I've been doing hair for over a decade. And when the pandemic hit, I started to see clients with unbelievable amounts of hair loss. And then I got COVID, boom, unbelievable amount of hair loss I experienced myself. And this really freaked me out. I mean, if you know me during that time, I was not okay. Actually, I even concealed it from people. I just couldn't even bear. My poor boyfriend, Josh, just took the brute end of it. I was not okay. And it sent me down this absolute rabbit hole of information trying to figure out how to heal this issue and get my hair to stop falling out and to get it to grow back. And in that malaise and research, I figured out that this is a really it's not an under-researched topic because there is a lot of research in here, but it's really scattered, the information. And then when it comes to the hairdressing industry, we are not taught how to make your hair healthy, honestly, at all, besides giving you a haircut. Generally, the education in hair is based on making it look good. And a lot of my clients throughout my career have asked me, how do I have nice hair? How do I make my hair better? And I think a lot of people are searching for a cure-all product that I could tell them that will just magically make everything luscious and better. But the reality of it is that most of it breaks down to your health. And so in my journey with my hair loss and having to grow my hair back, I've discovered and come up with this idea that hair is the final frontier of health. And if you are fortunate enough to have silky, luscious, abundant hair, part of that might be genetic, but a large part of it's probably due to the fact that you're doing something right with your diet or your movement, your stress levels. Your body's going to focus on healing everything else before it focuses on giving you the energy it needs to grow your hair. And I mean, so many things go into hair growth that is not commonly known, like your blood flow. I didn't know that until I went to an acupuncturist during my shedding that explained to me that, your neck needs to have open blood flow, and that's why scalp massage is so good and so important, even if you're experiencing hair loss, to get that blood flow stimulated to the scalp health. So I'll just say that this has really changed the conversations that I was having with clients. Before, when we would talk about hair health, it might be a little more superficial. Oh, try this. Oh, try X. Oh, try Z. Try Y. Fast forward now, I think most product lines are toxic and have really nasty ingredients. So there you go with that. That's again, a whole other subset of topics. But yeah, it breaks down a lot to your health. And so I find myself in these conversations now where we're digging into people's health as much as they feel comfortable and as much as I, feel comfortable asking about their health and their journey with it and what could be going on related to their hair and their hair growth. Super fascinating how interconnected it is. I mean, it makes sense. It's part of your body, but it always just seems so topical. And I really enjoyed so far attempting to help people in this way, or at least just comb through things, pun intended, in this way with people. It's been fun. It's shifted my energy in my business and in the hair industry a lot. And I see there's this missing market, and there's more of it, more and more all the time, but it's still, there's a huge gap in the market with connecting the hair and health piece. Maybe skin could be, I think people are a little more aware of how much your health has to do with your skin, but I digress. So that's what got me really, really enthusiastic about this kind of stuff. But I've had a lot of grit in my journey with health, in my own personal story. And since we're getting to know each other, I'll just give you a little rundown. Okay, and it's a little bit all over the place, but this is it, okay? So growing up, I think high school is a fun time to talk about, because who wasn't chaotic in high school? Or, I mean, maybe you weren't. Maybe you were academic and chill and like a good girl, good boy, but I was a little cuckoo, and I just was kind of a basket case. And my health probably definitely had something to do with that. I will preface this by saying that I have incredible parents, and my mom instilled in me a confidence that I can't even really describe. It's a little bit unwarranted. Because when I was overweight, even in high school, I was overweight, I was probably about 20 pounds heavier than I am now. And that's a lot for my frame. And she just gave me this delusional confidence that I was so beautiful, and it really carried me through. She never let me question that. And then my dad and I would work out and go to the gym together, and he did later instill in me a lot of good habits with cooking. Like in my later 20s, we got really into that together, and he helped me so much with that. But I think it had to do with the collective energy going on in America. Part of the reason that my parents and I fell victim to bad nutrition, poor nutrition. And I was not an easy kid either when it came to that. I was very strong-willed, and my dad always said I would only eat white food as a kid. Like I would only eat potatoes and chicken tenders and crap like that. And yeah, my poor parents, they tried, but I was really resistant. Like I probably just wouldn't eat anything. I hated vegetables. And then when I got into high school, I was just eating fast food a lot, and I have a lot of empathy for people that fall into this trap. It's inexpensive, fast food. It's inexpensive. It's addictive. It's delicious. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. You go on a road trip, it's ubiquitous. It's the only thing you can have. It's crazy. So, I started eating a lot of fast food, and I became overweight. And that was tough because I was in high school from 2006 to 2010. And if you were around, you might remember that it was like only cool to be real thin at that point, like super, super flaca, like really skinny, really, really skinny. And I wasn't, like, even if I starved myself to this day, like she's just not like a real thin girl. That's just not my body. I have curves. I had huge boobs. I don't know, the hormones and like whatever, they were out of control, like uncomfortably big for high school. You're just like, you see those young girls where you're just like, oh no, oh my gosh, probably just get objectified. I got objectified. It was so uncomfortable. And I had huge hips. I stayed relatively fit because I was fairly active. Like I went to the gym and I was a cheerleader, and I definitely wasn't working out as much as I do now, but I wasn't completely sedentary, which I think kept me from being like really, really overweight. So fast forward, I go to cosmetology school and I live with my grandparents in North Carolina. And my grandfather was an orthopedic surgeon, and he and my grandmother, Nani and Da, they take really good care of themselves. And to this day, they're in their late 80s and they look great. They look great. They feel great. You wouldn't believe they were in their late 80s. And I got to live with them, and I started to thus change my habits around food. And we even watched a documentary together when I was living with them when I was 19 about the meat industry, and all three of us went vegetarian. I was vegetarian for 3 years. Strict, not vegan, vegetarian. And they are still vegetarian to this day. Shout out, Nani and Da. Good job. But it's not for me, though. It's just not for me. I had a whole bevy of issues with that. I started out my hair career, and at first I felt good, like the first year. And then by year 2, I was like waning in energy a little bit. And then by year 3, I was well into my career at that point, and I was shaky. Like I couldn't steady myself. Not cute as a hairdresser. That's just not a good look. And it also induced this anxiety, and maybe there was other reasons for that. I think that there's not enough awareness around how difficult it is to be in your late teens and early 20s. Early to mid 20s are really tough times for everyone, I feel like. It's a really tough time to be a human in society. You're supposed to figure out what you want to do and how to function. It's not easy. For a lot of reasons. But yeah, the vegetarianism I don't think helped. And I even went to a nutritionist who taught me about macros, and I did my best to stick with it, but it didn't work for me. And really, as soon as I started eating meat again, my anxiety quelled and my hands were steady. And I'm not saying that's a cure-all, and it certainly wouldn't work for everyone, but it's what worked for me. And I'd considered medication, and I've never been a generally anxious person. That's like, I'm more depressed. I'm more of a depressed girly. We'll touch on that for sure. But yeah, the anxiety thing was weird. I think it was part of a dietary reaction. And so it took me some time, but I figured that out. Then, okay, fast forward, I go through my hair career. I find my footing. Like, I'm going to preface things when I talk about things that are a little inappropriate by saying this is not Nani and Daw, my grandparents, not Nani and Daw appropriate. This is not Nani and Daw appropriate, okay? So if you're trying to censor stuff, log out, like Nani and Daw. Hey, hi, they might be listening. Hey, guys. I'm just going to talk about some stuff that is a little more racy, okay? That's how I'm going to preface that. In my teens and my 20s, I was a drunk, okay? I was an alcoholic, and the only reason I feel like I don't know why we don't, you don't call young people alcoholics, because you don't know if it's a true habit that's formed, but you could certainly be categorized as an alcoholic if you're binge drinking the way that I was and the way that a lot of young people do. Whew. So mid-20s, I think this started to affect my psyche a lot. And I eventually moved to Miami and started my business. And I was just inconsolably depressed. I was so depressed. It was not fun. And people were observing it around me, and I felt isolated, and then the drinking was like kind of the only fun thing. I would go out with friends. I was single. I was just like lost in the sauce, quite literally. And it's just part of the culture, right? Drinking, it's such a tricky thing, alcohol. Like, because it's so ubiquitous, it's everywhere. And it's deemed as like this kind of casual, fun pastime. And I guess that works for certain people, but I don't know. To me, it's just sinister. But I didn't have an awareness. I was just kind of doing it. And it's just what you did. You went out and you drank. And then maybe you'd have a drink like every night. And even though you're like, okay, I'm fine. I'm not drinking a lot every night. But you get used to that like baseline feeling of just feeling like shit, you know? And that was me in my 20s. And like going hard on the weekends with my friends. I also smoked weed. And still do a little bit. Hi, Nani and Doss. Still do a little bit, but I'm not even going to get into that. Like, weed just needs to be its own category. That's complicated to me. That's a little more complicated. But the drinking, I had to stop. And I quit cold turkey for 2 weeks, which was hard to do. It was pre-pandemic. I was single. I was going out. One of my best friends is in the alcohol industry, and she can go to any bar. We can go to any bar in Miami, the bougiest places you can think of, and she can just charge it to the game, and we have an amazing time. And I used to try to keep up. I used to just and I hate wasting. I would drink all the drink. It was hard to quit for 2 weeks, but I cold turkey 2 weeks, no. Even though I was going out, no. And that was pre-pandemic. And then I kind of became disenchanted because I was like, oh, wow, I feel so good without doing this. Like, I'm not hungover. I don't have that baseline, like, shitty feeling all the time. Wow, this is crazy. But I was still depressed. I still had things to work on. Mind you, during all of this, my nutrition was okay. Like, she was okay. I tried to eat at home. I joke that I survived a lot on, like, cheese and crackers, like hummus, crudité, you know what I mean? Like, I started to learn how to cook with eggs and stir fry. Like, that was my one thing I knew kind of how to, like, started to learn how to do. I do think that's a great starting off point. Eggs and chopped vegetables, stir fry, maybe a tofu scramble, something like that. That's a really great way if you're trying to figure out how to cook. Like, that's a good way to start learning the chemistry and the feeling and the way things work and the flavoring with cooking. So that's where I started. And it was okay. And nutrition is so hard to figure out, and we're set up to fail in America. We're just set up to fail. So it takes a certain degree of privilege and time and money and understanding it's a luxury to eat healthy in this country. And even still, I think you can try as hard as you can, and you're still going to run into some issues. So I was doing okay. not overindulging, never been made really into sweets or anything. I was doing okay. Más o menos, like, take it or leave it. I was working out a lot. I've had a long journey. Like, I love working out. I love it. I think it's just so fun. Like, why not? You know what I mean? Like, why not? I guess it is hard to get motivated when you're not into it. I've definitely fell into slumps, and I could see how you would be really intimidated if you haven't been working out. But I've always liked to switch things up. I was like a Pilates freak for a long time, and I think that's such a great foundational way to work out because you really understand posture and form, which helped keep me healthy during all my hair stuff. It kept me away from being like literally just freaking back broken during hair, all the hair I've done. Yoga, I had my like yogi phase, namaste. Like I did learn in yoga really the mind body connection and the meditative, like I learned some key meditative aspects of being in yoga. I did. I love a yoga moment. It's a little hard on joints for my taste these days, but I still like to throw in a downward dog here and there. So yoga, now I'm in a gym girl phase. Like I'm trying to grow my butt, Miami, trying to do things without injections, guys. I'm doing my best. It's tough. It's tough in this society to live without any injections. We'll see, no promises, but I'm doing my best to be a natural girly and trying to get them gains. Woo, I'm all over the place drinking coffee. I really hate when people have anything negative to say about coffee's effects on your health. I'm sure my adrenals are a little fried, but listen, we got to pick our battles here, okay? If I'm not going to drink alcohol, just give me the coffee, like straight to the veins, first thing in the morning, whatever. Okay, so I suffered severely from depression. It wasn't funny. It sucked. Like I really teetered the line there for a little bit. Like I don't know. I mean, I had a lot of support in my life, thank God. So I really never got to a place where I was contemplating, hurting myself. But I could see how you would get there, and I definitely contemplated my existence at times, like that real deep feeling of why do we have to go through all this? What a chore, what a to-do, and that's a really shitty feeling, and it perpetuated for a long time for me, and I contemplated getting on medication so many times. I did get talk therapy at several points in my life, and that was very helpful. I do think that the talk therapy / medication model is really tired and a little bit archaic and just not enough. And I now have come into some belief systems that the medication can be actually detrimental in a lot of ways. Now, I know people have found comfort and success with medication, so I don't want to knock anyone's personal experience, but if you start digging into what SSRIs really are, it's a little spooky-ooky, honestly, if I'm going to be honest, and I'd like to be honest as much as I can, I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but it's just, I had this instinct that I didn't want to do it, and I came very close. Like, don't get me wrong, I came very close where I peddled this stuff just left and right. But there was something instinctually inside of me that kept me away from it, which I'm grateful for. And I went down this path of just being hell-bent on curing myself without medication. I don't know what that was, but I learned a lot of information, and what's kind of frustrating but also a relief in the same breath is a lot of our problems with our mind and our body, or our whole being, a lot of our issues can be fixed simply. And that's frustrating because these problems can feel so complicated. Maybe they are complicated and you do need to outsource some kind of help beyond yourself. Maybe that's the case, but I think a lot of the times it's within our own power to heal ourselves, whatever the case may be. It takes a degree of awareness, it takes effort, it takes discipline. I think that the real turning point for me was my diet. When the pandemic hit, I was able to go spend quarantine with my aunt and my cousin on a farm in North Carolina, and that experience changed my life. Like, I could really do a whole episode just on that experience alone, but I think the biggest thing that, looking back, that was a pivotal point for me, because before that I was at the peak of my depression. And it was almost physically painful how depressed I was. And just, it felt like a hole, like I was like a victim at the bottom of a hole, that, like a well that you couldn't crawl up out of. Ugh, it sucked. But the quarantine time really transformed my life. It did. And there's a myriad of reasons for that. I was able to cook. I mean, you could only cook at home. And I finally was able to really put energy into learning how to cook. I've always wanted to be a good cook. And hair fries so much of my creative energy. So I could never really learn, because I was just so done by the end of the day that I just needed cheese and crackers. But finally I had time to learn how to cook and how to get those flavors going, create those creative juices flowing, the culinary juices. Yum. I got pretty good at it. I'm not going to lie. I think I'm a pretty good cook. My dad is a good cook and was a good cook. He passed away. That's another topic. God rest his soul. Love you, Dad. But my dad was a good cook. My Aunt Julia, who also passed away, was an amazing cook. And, I honor them by tapping into that. I feel like it's a way to connect with their spirit and carry their legacies in a way. And it keeps me healthy. I think and now I don't really go out to eat. I don't drink and I don't go out to eat. And maybe I sound boring, but I feel happier and I feel healthier and more vital. I don't know. Exercise, movement. I could work out for an hour plus a day. I wish I still could do that. Oh my God. I was so snatched in quarantine. I started getting into Tracy Anderson. That's a great workout if you're trying to be really slim. It's a good slimming workout. Meditation. I did a meditation practice during that. Not non-endo appropriate. I took a little bit of shrooms. Whoops. Again, I digress. I came out of quarantine a completely different person. I was the most snatched I've ever been. Honestly, I'm just trying to get back to her. My stress levels were the lowest that they've ever been, even though I had no money. I couldn't work. I was a hairdresser. I was completely broke. Didn't know what I was going to do. Didn't know if I'd ever do hair again. I didn't have a boyfriend, but I was taking care of myself fundamentally, and I've never felt better, honestly. Maybe when I started dating Josh, because I had already known Josh, but when I started dating Josh, I was still on that tip, and that was the best I've ever felt. And I'm getting back to it, but I've had to go through a lot of grief with my dad, and grief is different than depression. I'm going to do a whole episode on grief. What a tricky thing, grief. Wow. But I really changed after that. I did. And I think a lot of people, I wouldn't recommend psychedelics to just anyone, but if you know anything about what's going on in the collective narrative, those seem to be coming up more and more as modalities for healing. It's super interesting research going into all of that. So there's a little rundown. If you've kept up with me through all of this, thank you. I love you. And please give me some feedback on what you think. I'm a novice at this. I'm just laying it all out there. Legit, everything I've talked about, I want to break down into different genres and talk to other people, whether it be experts and, or just everyday people going through stuff that we all go through, just conversations that we're all having on an eye-to-eye level. I will say one more thing, that another thing post-quarantine that I got really enthusiastic about and still just, wow, we need to drive this home, is women's health and the cycle and what we're going through with the fluctuations with our hormones. Wow. We gotta dig into that, because I've finally connected with that more and have so much of my own journey to share and impart some knowledge I've gained along the way around that. It's such a grossly undereducated topic, and it stems, I think that the lack of awareness around our own systems as women leads to so many issues in life, like just like major issues, global issues, stems from the fact that women are so disconnected from their vitality and then their vital signs that things are working properly, and syncing with that rhythm. Wow. That's when things really started to pop off for me, and acupuncture helped a lot with that as well. So I got to wrap it up. I'm ramble mode, too much coffee. Thank you guys for listening. Love you.